Ohm's law describes the relationship between voltage, current, and resistance in an electrical circuit. Specifically, voltage equals current times resistance. This law is fundamental because it allows us to calculate circuit parameters and understand how changes in one parameter affect the others. Series circuits provide a single path for current flow, meaning that the current is the same through each component, and the voltages across each component add up to the total voltage. Parallel circuits, on the other hand, provide multiple paths for current flow, meaning the voltage is the same across each branch, and the currents through each branch add up to the total current. Combination circuits include both series and parallel elements. Magnetism is a force of attraction or repulsion between objects due to the movement of electrical charges. Electromagnetic induction is the process where a changing magnetic field induces a voltage in a conductor. Firstly, resistors limit current flow. Secondly, capacitors store electrical energy in an electric field. Thirdly, inductors store electrical energy in a magnetic field. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is a set of standards for safe electrical installations. Its purpose is to protect people and property from electrical hazards. Its scope covers electrical wiring and equipment in buildings and other structures. Electrical hazards can be categorized into shock hazards, arc flash hazards, and arc blast hazards. Precautions include using personal protective equipment, following lockout-tagout procedures, and maintaining safe working distances. The NEC specifies wiring methods like non-metallic sheet cable or NM cable, electrical metallic tubing or EMT, and rigid metal conduit or RMC. Grounding and bonding systems provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, minimizing the risk of electric shock. Lighting systems include incandescent, fluorescent, and light-emitting diode or LED lighting. Load calculations determine the required capacity of electrical services, feeders, and branch circuits based on the expected electrical load. Common electrical problems include flickering lights, which can be caused by loose connections or voltage fluctuations, and tripped breakers, which can be caused by overloads or short circuits. When installing and wiring electrical devices, you must follow NEC guidelines. Electrical service entrances bring electrical power from the utility to the building. Distribution panels distribute electrical power to individual circuits throughout the building. Outlets include receptacles for plugging in appliances and devices, switches for controlling lights and other equipment, and lighting outlets for connecting light fixtures. Appliances such as ovens, ranges, and air conditioners have specific wiring requirements outlined in the NEC. Local building codes may have additional requirements for residential electrical installations. A multimeter is used to measure voltage, current, and resistance in electrical circuits. When diagnosing and repairing electrical faults, always disconnect the power supply before beginning work. Continuity tests verify that the circuit is complete and unbroken. Insulation tests verify that wiring insulation is intact and prevents current leakage. Three-phase electrical systems provide three alternating current voltages that are offset by 120 degrees. This allows for more efficient power delivery, particularly for motors and heavy loads. Electrical transformers increase or decrease voltage levels. Residential backup power systems provide power to essential loads during a power outage. Complex electrical problems may require advanced troubleshooting techniques and specialized equipment. Firstly, always ensure the power is disconnected and locked out before starting any electrical work. Secondly, use appropriate personal protective equipment, including safety glasses and gloves. Thirdly, follow all applicable codes and standards. Fourthly, double-check all connections and wiring. Fifthly, if unsure, consult with a qualified electrician. When measuring voltage with a multimeter, select the appropriate voltage range and connect the meter leads in parallel with the circuit. When measuring current with a multimeter, select the appropriate current range and connect the meter leads in series with the circuit. When measuring resistance with a multimeter, disconnect the power supply and connect the meter leads across the resistor. Flickering lights can indicate loose connections, voltage fluctuations, or a failing light bulb. Trip breakers can indicate an overload, a short circuit, or a ground fault. Non-metallic sheathed cable or NM cable is commonly used for branch circuits in residential wiring. Electrical metallic tubing or EMT is a thin-walled conduit used to protect wiring in exposed locations. Grounding electrodes, such as ground rods or ground plates, provide a connection to the earth for grounding systems. Bonding jumpers connect metallic parts together to create a low-impedance path for fault current. Incandescent lighting is inefficient and produces a lot of heat. Fluorescent lighting is more efficient than incandescent lighting but contains mercury. Light-emitting diode or LED lighting is the most energy efficient and has a long lifespan. Load calculations take into account the square footage of the dwelling, the number and type of appliances, and the lighting load. The NEC provides tables and formulas for calculating electrical loads. Electrical service entrances typically include a meter, a disconnect switch, and an overcurrent protection device. Distribution panels contain circuit breakers or fuses that protect individual circuits from overcurrents. Receptacles are typically rated for 15 amps or 20 amps at 120 volts. Ground fault circuit interrupter or GFCI receptacles are required in wet locations such as bathrooms and kitchens. Arc fault circuit interrupter or side breakers are required in many areas to protect against arc faults. When wiring appliances, follow the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC guidelines. Ovens and ranges typically require dedicated circuits with high amperage ratings. Air conditioners also require dedicated circuits with appropriate overcurrent protection. Local building codes may require permits and inspections for electrical work. The requirements for electrical service entrances typically specify the size of the service conductors and the grounding electrode system. The requirements for distribution panels typically specify the number of circuits and the overcurrent protection devices. The requirements for outlets typically specify the type of receptacle and the spacing requirements. The requirements for appliances typically specify the wiring methods and the overcurrent protection devices. When troubleshooting electrical problems, start by checking the power supply and the circuit breaker. Use a multimeter to measure voltage, current, and resistance to identify the source of the problem. Check for loose connections, damaged wiring, and faulty components. If you are unsure about how to repair an electrical problem, consult with a qualified electrician. Three-phase electrical systems are commonly used in commercial and industrial buildings. They provide a more efficient and reliable power supply for large loads. Electrical transformers are used to step up or step down voltage levels to match the requirements of the electrical equipment. They are essential components in power distribution systems. Residential backup power systems typically use generators or batteries to provide power during a power outage. They can be wired to power essential loads such as lighting, refrigerators, and medical equipment. Complex electrical problems may involve multiple circuits and require a systematic approach to troubleshooting. Use a multimeter to trace the circuit and identify the source of the problem. Check for voltage drops, shorts, and open circuits. If you are unable to solve the problem, consult with a qualified electrician. When working with electrical systems, always be aware of the potential hazards. Electrical shock can cause serious injury or death. Arc flash can cause severe burns. Follow all safety precautions to minimize the risk of injury. The NEC is updated every 3 years. Stay up to date on the latest changes to ensure compliance with the code. Consider attending electrical training courses to enhance your skills and knowledge. Continuous learning is essential for staying safe and proficient in the electrical field. Firstly, ensure proper grounding. Secondly, use appropriate wire sizes. Thirdly, protect wiring from physical damage. Fourthly, properly label all circuits. Fifthly, use approved materials and equipment. When performing continuity tests, ensure that the power is disconnected. A reading of 0 ohms indicates a continuous circuit. A reading of infinite ohms indicates an open circuit. When performing insulation tests, use a megometer to measure the insulation resistance. A low insulation resistance indicates damaged insulation. Replace damaged wiring immediately. Principles of magnetism involve the alignment of magnetic domains in a material. Electromagnetic induction is used in generators and transformers. Resistors limit current flow and dissipate energy as heat. Capacitors store energy in an electric field and block direct current. Inductors store energy in a magnetic field and resist changes in current. The purpose of the NEC is to protect people and property from electrical hazards. The scope of the NEC covers electrical wiring and equipment in buildings and other structures. Electrical hazard categories include shock hazards, arc flash hazards, and arc blast hazards. Precautions to mitigate electrical hazards include using personal protective equipment and following lockout-tagout procedures. The requirements for electrical wiring methods specify the type of wiring allowed in different locations. The requirements for grounding and bonding systems ensure a low impedance path for fault current. Lighting systems include incandescent, fluorescent, and light-emitting diode or LED lighting. Their applications vary depending on the desired light output and energy efficiency. Load calculations determine the required capacity of electrical services, feeders, and branch circuits. Troubleshooting common electrical problems involves identifying the source of the problem and implementing a solution. Installing and wiring electrical devices requires following NEC guidelines and manufacturer's instructions. Electrical service entrances bring electrical power from the utility to the building. Distribution panels distribute electrical power to individual circuits throughout the building. Outlets provide a point of connection for electrical devices and appliances. Their uses vary depending on the type of outlet and the location. Appliances such as ovens, ranges, and air conditioners have specific wiring requirements. Local building codes may have additional requirements for residential electrical installations. Using a multimeter to measure voltage, current, and resistance is essential for troubleshooting electrical problems. Diagnosing and repairing electrical faults requires a systematic approach and a thorough understanding of electrical circuits. Performing continuity and insulation tests verifies the integrity of the wiring. Advanced helpers should understand the principles of three-phase electrical systems. Three-phase systems provide more efficient power delivery for large loads. Electrical transformers increase or decrease voltage levels. They are used in power distribution systems and to match the voltage requirements of electrical equipment. Residential backup power systems provide power to essential loads during a power outage. They are essential for maintaining critical functions during a power outage. Troubleshooting and repairing complex electrical problems requires advanced skills and knowledge. It involves identifying the source of the problem and implementing a solution. Firstly, always disconnect the power. Secondly, wear appropriate protective equipment. Thirdly, use the correct tools. Fourthly, follow all applicable codes. Fifthly, if unsure, ask for help.